Guys, we've got a whole fucking theory.
We're filming this right after we watched the Grammys,
Yes.
and we're just very excited by seeing Taylor in that red dress.
God, it's the best she's ever looked.
Please check out our Patreon for our reaction and our discussions around just, you know, what we think it could mean. But like maybe Girlie was just having some fun in a red dress, but we like to just take what we take from it.
Dig a little deeper, you know, as 50s do, just in case.
You know, I think I wouldn't clown at all if she didn't have the 12 jewels in her earrings.
That threw me. That really said
red
to me
earrings,
something is
12
going on.
jewels. And she's done
Very
that
alarming.
before, you know. She's done that before. Not with the earrings particularly, but she's worn like the number on her.
And T for 12.
And T for 12? Oh my God, I didn't think of that.
Ducky.
Guys, I've done it. I've said something. that you
What if,
guys
like-
haven't said.
It could be for Travis, it could be for Taylor, it could be for 12. It's elusive.
It could be for Torture Poets.
It could be, there's so many things. But it could be that transition as well from Torture Poets now
To
into this colourful,
12.
loved up era.
Anyway.
Oh, we should light our candles.
Oh. It doesn't ever seem to be true. What did you just do? Hit your balls?
No. Yes, I hit my balls. No, I hit my foot and then I got a period pain. The opposite, actually. My uterus is hurting me.
Feminine issues.
Feminine issues. Just two girlies who are about to talk about
A hideous man.
the smallest man
who ever lived. A hideous man indeed. Well, actually,
hideous.
I find us so funny sometimes because we've just like both pulled out of our wardrobes. We're like, this is kind of giving man.
Yeah.
Like I've got a big collar on, you know, it's kind of giving suit. You're kind of giving suit.
I
like,
wanted to wear a tie, but I don't have one. Like, it's really upsetting, actually. I should have
Actually,
thought about
if you
this.
wore a tie with this top, it'd kind of be giving a bit of, you know, 2002 Avril Lavigne
It would,
energy.
yeah. And Jehovah's Witness suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, we know that you
Oh.
love this song. We all
Yes.
love this song. It's a song for the angry girlies. You know?
Absolutely.
We all need a song that we can vent our feelings to. And this song just captures that so perfectly. It has such a build to this anger. And like, there's just no better revenge than calling a man the smallest man that's ever lived.
Absolutely.
Who's ever lived.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually really fascinating to me that Taylor had never really written a song with a similar energy to this before.
Yeah.
She's got like angry sounding songs. You know, we could bring up songs like Forever and Always or Haunted
I think
or
Better Man might be.
Or Better
the
Man
last
is another one I was gonna
song,
say.
Which is interesting because we link Red and Torture Poets so often.
But there's still so much like sadness and heartbreak in those songs. And it's not that that's not present in this song, but this song is just so much more like in her power. Like she knows how much she was done wrong. It's like she's disgusted by this man at this point.
Yeah.
She's not disgusted yet in Better Man. She's just disappointed.
Yeah, she's really
You know?
turned off him at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, how could I ever have actually liked you?
I think it really shows her maturity. You know, I think it shows her age. I think it shows how many experiences of heartbreak she's been through to get to a point where she's like, no, you did me so fucking dirty and I just know that I deserve so much better than that.
So true.
And that you don't deserve a second chance from me, even if that was available.
Do you remember how gagged we were when we read the title of this track?
Yes.
I just will never recover from that. I
Truly.
couldn't believe, especially when I didn't know who it was about yet.
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I was like, what is she
are you
going
about
to say in this song?
I feel like there were so many options because it could have even gone down like the re-recording path as well. Like it could have been a Scooter hate song, you know, it could have been a Scott hate song. Could have been a Kanye hate song, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, they're all very, very small men. We hope they're having terrible days
Yeah.
today, especially those ones that you've just mentioned.
But I do think that this song is perfect to tell the narrative that she is talking about on this album. I think its placement in the track list is perfect as well. It sort of comes towards the end of that main album section. So, you know, it makes sense in the journey of recovery.
Yes.
Of heartbreak.
That she's getting to that point, and then she kind of can get over it a bit more after that hill.
Absolutely. I think we just need to listen.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, I need you to pause.
It's just a breath.
I actually don't always pay attention to that breath when I listen to this song. You know, like I think I'm just like sometimes just waiting for her to start singing. But The breath is a lot. The breath is telling us a lot.
Yeah. It reminds me of when she added that into My Tears Ricochet at the end of the Long Pond version. She like breathes at the end. She's like,
No, she does. She breathes at the end of her song and it means something.
it does. It's like
But
a sigh. It's a sigh. It's
No,
like
it is. It's a sigh.
It's kind of giving, here we go again, but like in a more like,
Without words.
well, yeah, in a more actual fed up kind of way.
So
it's
true.
really powerful, that breath. She's
Yeah.
just exhausted by
Yeah.
this. She's so done.
Yeah.
Was any of it true? Gazing at me starry-eyed in your Jehovah's Witness suit. Who the fuck was that guy? You tried to buy some pills from a friend of friends of mine. They just ghosted you. Now you know what it feels like.
This song gives us so much tea, I feel.
It absolutely.
And it links
This
to so
song-
many other songs.
I feel like you just said, she's like fed up in this song. I feel like that's present in the lyrics, as in like she doesn't give a fuck what she says about this man, how
yeah.
it ruins his reputation. I don't even give a fuck. Like, I'm just gonna say it.
So true.
Which I love. It's so interesting in the production how it's like that
Yeah.
comes in like kind of halfway through the verse.
It does,
Like
it
it's
kinda
just
picks
that
it up.
piano until that, and it's not
Yeah.
actually obvious. It's also
It's an Aaron song, which
Yeah.
makes sense with that sound.
it does make sense of that sound to be an Aaron song.
Yeah.
It also like I think that exasperated feel is also really held in the fact that it takes a second for her to like start each line. Like it's not even as close to being as fast paced as you think it's going to be. And
Yes.
she can do that because it's like Aaron's piano just sort of stops. And then he just picks it up again for the next line kind of thing. Whereas like
And
they
then
could
that-
have done that, they could have spaced that closer together, but I feel like it's really intentional to kind of leave that space
Yeah.
between every line because it's just, you really feel that exhaustion over the situation in that choice.
And there's like the pattering comes in halfway through the verse, which I think makes it feel like it's a faster paced song than it
Yes.
actually is. It's
Yeah.
like slowly building, but you're right. She's really quite slowly speaking here.
Yeah. Was any of it true? Gazing at me starry-eyed in your Jehovah's Witness suit, who the fuck
Was
was
that
that guy?
No, I love
No.
that she's starting it with a question.
Yeah.
That's just such a good way to start this song. Was any of it true? And I think it's great because these next lyrics link into other songs that she's already sung about on the album. So it's a great point to get to where that she's kind of telling us all of that felt
Yeah.
fake, you know?
Yeah.
And really links great into LOML.
Yes.
Gazing at me starry-eyed reminds me of Better Safe Than Starry-Eyed. Is that LML?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And the Jehovah's Witness suit kind of feels like a callback directly to In Your Suit and Tie,
Yes,
In the Nick
LML
of Time.
as well, yeah.
LML
Those
as well,
two
yeah.
songs are just so
I mean, I even just think in starting it with that question, was any of it true? I mean, LOML itself deals with this idea of feeling like she was lied to
Yeah.
and that being, I mean, it's actually interesting. They kind of both bring up similar things, but LOML is the heartbreak version of this
Yeah,
song.
and this is like the angry version.
Yeah.
So true, yeah.
But I love that because it makes it so clear that we're talking about the same person as part of that same narrative, and that's
And they're
not
just
always
different
an obvious thing to
emotions
do.
explored around the same situation, which
Yeah.
is very therapeutic.
Yeah.
I also like how Gazing at Me Starry-Eyed kind of links nicely to Down Bad, considering
Yes.
he was this whole, you know, spaceship abduction, took her to another planet, took her to another world.
Yeah. So true. It's also so interesting that she keeps bringing up the suit because I feel like this is specifically almost like a uniform for Maddie Healy's stage performances with the 1975.
Yeah.
And I just find it so fascinating that the first time the public domain actually saw them, I guess, together again was when she showed up at the 1975 concert and played Antihero, which was
was
the
a
first ever
lot.
Midnight's performance ever.
Holy shit.
It was a lot. It was also before they were actually in a relationship. I mean, technically, she was still with Joe if we take the timeline that we saw as the public to be true, which is that they separated in March, April 2023. So just
when did
really
she come out
fascinating.
on stage with him?
It was, I'm pretty sure it was right at the end of 2022, just after Midnight's came out. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I actually look back on that time because I was so fucking confused
Yeah.
what was going on with
Yeah.
her. And I remember that shook us to the core when she came out. In
Absolutely.
that sparkly dress. She was drinking her drink on stage, playing Antihero.
Maddie Healy
That
was calling her
a
fucking
lot.
queen or some shit. I don't know. That was wild. But anyway, I find it fascinating that she brings this up because it is this performance. And so why would she not bring up his stage uniform
Attire, yeah.
when she's talking about actually his whole life being one big performance? Who the fuck was that guy?
Yeah.
You were acting a certain way that I thought was the real you, but it's turned out that that's not really you at all. I just find that such an interesting kind of link
And
there.
he was probably doting on her then as well. Like
Yeah.
really, really gazing at her starry-eyed. Like thought she was the best, thought she was a queen, like you just said.
Yeah.
Who the fuck was that guy? You're literally a different person now. I love
Yeah.
that lyric.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Such a relatable lyric for how someone treats you at the beginning of a relationship versus like where you end up being when you're arguing or when things are bad or when
Yeah.
you're breaking up. Like it's
Yeah.
like, how are you the same person?
Yeah, baffling. You tried to buy some pills from a friend of friends of mine. They just ghosted you. Now you know what it feels like. These
That's
are
the
some
lyric.
tea lyrics.
Yeah,
These are
without
some tea
this
lyrics.
lyric, we really wouldn't have known. I don't think that he ghosted her and that he
Yeah.
did drop off so quickly. And it's also telling us that he maybe went back to trying to be involved with drugs,
Yeah.
which is we know is part of like their downfall, maybe in other parts of their dating history.
Yeah.
So it's like he still kind of wants that. He's still choosing that over her.
Yeah.
He's trying to buy drugs and he's also ghosting her.
Yeah. It also kind of comes off as like, it's a bit embarrassing.
It is.
Like, you tried to buy pills from a friend of friends of mine. Like, you kind of went through me in a way
Yeah.
to like get your hands on that, which is kind of
And
embarrassing
they
when
just
we've broken
ghosted
up.
you because like, why would they reply to you? That's so
Yeah,
embarrassing.
so embarrassing. And it definitely, you know, if we're taking these specific lines to be like, maybe he's done this after the breakup, you've kind of got to assume that the way in which he hurt her, there would be a few mutual friends around who have cut him off in that process too, you know?
Like Jack.
Like Jack, yeah. So I think that that even ties in well with the they just ghosted you. Like, my friends are not going to be replying to you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's such a clever way of telling us that he ghosted her.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of hoping that he's feeling pain over feeling cut off in the way that she felt cut off from him.
Yes.
I think that with this song, I find it such a cathartic, angry song. But I think the reason it's not in my top is because of the melodies in the song. Like, she's talking a lot in this song, I feel.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think that that serves its purpose for this kind of song. But I think that I'm more personally always drawn to the songs that sound really pretty, as well as say something fucked up, as well as it's like the trifecta, you know? Like,
Absolutely.
I think that this song does one thing really well. And I guess that's the beauty of Tortured Poets. It has so much versatility in that way. And
Yeah.
there is always the right song for the right thing.
Totally. She absolutely did what needed to be done to tell this specific story. But yeah, sometimes the way it sounds doesn't always resonate with you, and that's
Yeah.
okay. You can still be like, she did the perfect thing.
Yeah.
And just be like, that's not my favorite song.
Favorite thing.
Yeah.
I think if I really needed this song though, I can see why it would be a top favorite. Like if you
Absolutely.
were relating to this feeling,
Yeah.
deeply needed.
Yeah.
And I don't even want you back, I just want to know
She's so deep.
if rusting my sparkling summer was the goal.
That's deep.
And I don't miss what we had, but could someone give a message to the smallest man who ever lived?
Oh my god. I love how this chorus is actually structured. I feel like the way she's wrapped that up to the point of the smallest man that ever lived, whoever lived, is not a obvious way to do that.
No.
I like how in both these kind of first parts of these two sentences, it's saying something like, I don't want you back, but this, I don't want to talk to you, but this. Like, it's,
Yeah.
she's kind of prefacing each little dig with like, I actually want nothing to do with you. And
Yeah.
that's what's quite unique about this structure.
And I don't want my questioning to come off like I miss you, like
Yeah.
I want you,
Yeah.
like I'm hung up on this. I just need you to know that you were the biggest piece of shit I've ever
Yeah,
met, and
yeah.
I deserve to be able to ask you these questions,
Totally.
kind of thing.
I don't even want you back. I just want to know if rusting my sparkling summer was the goal. I always love that lyric about rusting my sparkling summer. Like, it just is, it wraps up so perfectly with the Eras tour and everything that
It does.
she's been through. What was the point of this? Did you just want to
What was the
hurt
point?
me?
Yes.
Like, I was having a great time. I was, well, you know, maybe she wasn't having a great time, but she was about to embark on this huge tour, and it was going to be amazing. It was going to be sparkling. It was going to be beautiful, and it was summer. And what was your point? Just going to rust that? I love the rust, which is an interesting link to maybe maroon.
That's true.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
And I don't miss what we had, but could someone give a message to the smallest man who ever lived?
I think what this really tells us is that they're not in contact. You know, someone needs to
Yeah.
get this message to him. I think that that even links back nicely to what she says in the verse about the fact that she was ghosted by him. She actually doesn't even have a way of getting in contact with him because he chose to cut off that communication. But that itself has probably brought up all of this anger and frustration in her that she feels like she needs to try and get to him somehow to just spell out how shit he really was. And I just love that. Yeah, like even what you said before, like the fact that she's wrapping this up with that, the smallest man who ever lived, because I think that a song title like this, when you don't know what it sounds like, you kind of look at it and you're like, how the fuck is she going to say that in a song? And wrapping it up into the someone needing to get a message, like she can use those descriptive words instead of saying like his name or to you or whatever kind of thing.
And it's not like she's just ending up being like, you really are the smallest man that's ever lived. Like,
Yeah.
I like that extra layer of it, like someone get a message to the smallest man that ever lived. There's a reason for her to say it. It is an insult, but there is another purpose for her to say it.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
line really creates,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that the song is also the message, which I think is kind of funny. It's like, yes, my album and my fans will get this message to him.
That's so
which
true.
Which is interesting because in the Black Dog, she also says, like, I hope you hear it. And, like, it's, both of these songs kind of have those lyrics where there's, like, a want for him to know how much he hurt her.
Yeah. I think that must be something that makes songwriting and honestly just like actually just being as successful as she is in it so rewarding for her, is knowing that in a situation like this you kind of do get to have the final say. That must just be so satisfying for her to know. I mean, you know, I guess him also being a songwriter and a musician, he'll come back and say something else as well in the future, but I guess there are a lot of situations in her life where that platform is not available to the person that she's sort of singing about or like needing to get a message to. And I think when you feel so hurt and hard done by, that must just be the best feeling to know that you can actually know they're probably going to hear that song.
Sigh again.
You hung me on your wall, stabbed me with your push pins, in public showed me off, then sank in stoned oblivion. 'Cause once your queen had come, you treat her like an also-ran. You didn't measure up in any measure of a man.
You hung me on your wall, stabbed me with your push pins.
I love that hanging on the wall imagery because it feels like kind of like the queen, right? Like pictures of her, like it feels like he's showing her off but also praising her, like a mural or something.
Yeah.
But then the next lyric is like, kind of feels like voodoo or just like you did that just to hurt me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, stabbed me with your push pins.
Yeah. I mean, it ties in so well with the hanging on the wall. Like, it's almost like that's a way that you do hang something on the wall. But in this context, she is saying that, like, you hurt me. Even though, I mean, it actually ties in so well with the next lyric. In public showed me off, then sank in stoned oblivion. Like, in some way, she's saying a similar thing. It's like, you hung me on your wall to show me off. But actually behind closed doors, it was painful. It didn't feel the same. You weren't behaving the same as you do when you wanted to show me off or hang me on your wall or whatever. So the stabbing with the push pins feels like that. It is that metaphor for, hurting me.
Also, the stoned, sank in stoned oblivion reminds me of, like, you smoked, then ate 4 bars of chocolate from Torture Poets Department song. Yeah. And there was a lot of, like, moments where they were out, like, holding hands when they first started dating in just those few weeks and stuff. So I guess it makes sense that she felt that way. Yeah,
I mean, I even, again, think about that performance that she did at the 1975 show, even though they weren't together, bringing up the fact that, like, the Queen's here kind of thing, and what he said on that night. It kind of is like this public display of, like, this amazing person's here kind of thing, but that's just not the version of him that she gets behind closed doors.
Totally.
Whether they were just friends or together. And then, again, that links in with the next lyric quite well as well, because once your queen had come, like, that queen thing, the fact that he brought up that she was a queen that night is so fascinating. It actually feels like there's a lot of links back to that night, even though they weren't together then.
Yeah, that's interesting. You treat her like an also-ran, like a runner-up.
Yeah.
And I think that's just not a nice feeling to feel like when they're alone in person together, like that person's just like, getting stoned and going to sleep or not paying any attention to her or not having any quality time with her. Like, that is such a contrast from how they might be behaving in public, and would make her feel really used. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually feel like in some ways this song is the only one where she's actually kind of telling us that even whilst they were together, behind closed doors, things weren't as good as what we thought they were. Because I feel like in most of the other songs, she's kind of saying, like, you know, you did promise me all these things. You kind of promised me forever, and now that we're not together, I'm left feeling confused. But these lyrics really do feel like she was getting a different version of him behind closed doors, even when they were in a relationship, and now she's able to reflect on the fact that she didn't feel good in those moments, even though maybe she thought she did. At the time.
Absolutely. It's like the hindsight is more obvious. I think that is what's so relatable about her and this relationship and this song as well, though, because I think so many girls feel like they thought something was magical, and then when they're out of it, they're like, actually, you gave me nothing and that was shit. Like, I don't know what I was thinking was so great. But I think that when someone promises things, that can feel magical because it can make you feel understood. It can make you feel seen. And I think that they might have been connecting over the music thing, which felt a bit magical. Like that twin flame kind of like, we're very similar. I see myself in you.
And clearly she's also latching onto a version of him that she was getting when she was around other people as well. Like she was trying to maybe just convince herself that this is really who she was, because she did feel good when he showed her off in public.
And also that might have felt nice compared to maybe her previous relationship where she felt like she was locked away. Maybe in this situation, she didn't see it for what it really was, because he was proud of her in a way, which made her feel like, oh, this is nice. But then in behind closed doors, he actually seemed to not really care.
So true.
That was a learning lesson, I think, for her in that.
When I think that you're right. Like, I think that the fact that she brings up that being in the slammer through so many of the songs on this album, I think it's so clear that she was in this mindset of exactly what all the negatives were of that previous relationship, that she probably thought, well, anything that's the opposite of that has got to feel good, because that didn't feel good. And so being showed off in public, which is something that was clearly not happening when she felt like she was in a jail cell, locked behind closed doors, is going to feel good, even though she actually can't see it for what it is in the moment.
Yeah, totally.
So interesting.
Oh my God, the last lyric is Tia.
You didn't measure up in any measure of a man.
Oh, this could just mean so many things. But I do love it because she's essentially just saying you were never an actual man, you were never a real man. She's told us that in other lyrics, like pretended to be the brave man and then proceeded to play him. And I think like in this way, she's like, you actually didn't measure up in any way. And I'm now seeing that with hindsight and clarity. You didn't give me anything that I needed. It could be a nod to his height. It could be a nod to the size of other body objects, or maybe laying with him in a bed-like object.
Wait, no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Body objects is so hilarious when you think about it in the context of guilty as sin. Like, she's having these daydreams about how fucking good it would feel to have sex with him, and then when she's actually doing it, she's like,
measure up.
That did not feel as good as it did in my head.
That's why guilty as sin's so funny, because it's not actually proof of anything. It's
no,
just
it's
her
not.
Head and you know, you really can do this as a girlie. You can make it up here so much better than it actually
We
is.
make men better than what they are in our heads. Yeah.
There's another lyric though that we talked about, her maybe nodding to him not being good in bed, with another song we broke down.
Oh my god, yeah. It's the alchemy when she says, worst sleep that I ever had.
Oh yes! Oh my god, yes. The hospital was a drag, worst sleep I ever had. Yes.
But yeah, then I think in so many other ways, like the fact that you promised me things that you couldn't keep those promises, you know, like it's a maybe a lack of display of vulnerability. You're not as deep as I needed you to be. Accountability, you know. Actually, the fact that he ghosted her, I think all of these things show a very immature, insecure person.
Yeah.
And a real man is going to be able to face the fear of telling the woman that he promised the world to, I'm really sorry, my feelings have changed. I owe you that explanation.
Yeah.
You know, like I think there's just so many elements.
Well, it does link perfectly to the smallest man that ever lived, which is the title of the song. You didn't measure up. You're small.
And the next chorus is all the same, but I actually think that for this song it really works, that she's got quite a concise chorus and that she doesn't do an add-on chorus, she doesn't change any lyrics. It's not necessary when you've got this bridge outro
the bridge
scenario.
outro is so long, and we're going to listen to it all together.
We simply are.
And I think that that's what's nice about that piano coming into the second chorus, is it does feel like a shift in the song starts to happen, even though we're getting the same lyrics because we need the same lyrics to just build us musically and energetically towards the big drop into the bridge.
And you said it in one of our recent breakdowns that Aaron specifically is really good at building a song and like kind of you don't even know it, but somehow before your eyes the production of a song sounds completely different. And I do feel like this is a perfect example of one of those songs. Like it starts so slow, one instrument, one piano.
And then we have like a marching band energy by the end.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about this bridge that's always given me the energy of like an emo band.
It feels like an intentional callback to maybe the starting line.
Yes. Well, I was just going to say with
a band that they have clearly bonded over.
Yes.
That is one of those early 2000s
and being
emo
in their
bands.
30s, they both bonded over emo music. Even Matty Healy kind of feels like he came from that emo scene.
Were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? Did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed? Were you writing a book? Were you a sleeper cell spy? In 50 years will all this be declassified? You'll confess why you did, and I'll say good riddance, 'cause it wasn't sex you wanted, wasn't forbidden. I would have died for your sins, instead I just died inside. And you deserve prison, but you won't get time. You'll slide into inboxes and slip through the bars. You crashed my party and your rental car. You said normal girls were boring, but you were gone by the morning. You kicked out the stage lights, but you're still performing. And in plain sight you hid, but you are what you did. And I'll forget you, but I'll never forgive the smallest man who ever lived.
Holy shit, there's so much to say.
There's so much to say.
How do we even
I
begin?
actually just need to start with the sound.
Yeah, I agree.
Because vocally, I think it's so amazing that she's layered her own vocals, this like low register and the high register. They're squashed together
They
the
are.
entire time.
Oh my God, that's the first thing I was going to say too, because I don't know if you remember when we were breaking down So Long London, and I was saying she does that a lot in this album.
Yes.
The high register with the low at the same time.
Yeah.
And it feels like really upsetting and dark and haunting, but it also feels painful
and screaming, like
like there's these two feelings that are existing. It makes you feel such a depth of feeling.
It's so fascinating. I feel like the lower register almost gives a little bit of a nonchalance. Like it's got like, and you deserve prison, but you won't get time. Like,
or
it's
that
kind of
exhaustion again.
Yeah, like it's kind of just like, whatever, bro, you're so shit. And but then, like, you know, that higher register and the one that
like,
she went to on stage in the performance on the Eras tour was like, and you deserve praise that you were. You know, it's so interesting.
This whole song is so low. Oh my fucking God. And so is So Long London, actually. There's a lot of similarities in those two songs sonically. And I think that she's experiencing two emotions in both of those songs. Similarly.
I know it's not on this album, but I feel very similarly about the bridge of My Tears Ricochet. She does the exact same thing, and like it's so obvious in the Long Pond version because she only does the lower register, but there is that like that screaming high voice in the bridge of the recorded version, and
so good.
I think it shows that those different emotions too. It's the anger and the sadness kind of coexisting as one.
And she kind of starts really low. Were you sent by someone?
Yeah.
And as it goes, it gets high. That second vocal gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher.
Do you know what? I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, the high register comes in when she says, and I'll say, good riddance. Because she says good riddance, and then her other voice goes, good riddance.
Yes, you're right.
And then it kind of stays for the rest of the bridge,
it
which
does,
is so
because
fascinating.
it wasn't sexy once it wasn't forbidden. Yeah, that switch is there. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Wait, also the
bridge.
sound, the violin. I don't think I'd ever really focused on that.
Yeah, there is that
There's
violin,
a violin
isn't there?
coming in halfway through, and it's like, it gets so orchestral.
Yeah.
And the marching band sound as well, like she's marching off to war or her death or whatever it is. It's just like she's hitting them. Yeah. She's hitting him hard with this force that is this bridge, the truth.
Yeah. The imagery on the stage performance of this song was so fascinating because I hadn't kind of made that connection of it kind of sounding like a marching band at this point in the song until she kind of did the whole marching band thing on stage.
Yeah.
But the fact that she kind of gets shot a few times as well and like slowly sort of dies towards the end of it is so...
It's like a war.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It's so interesting. Were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? Did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed? This is so interesting, the beginning of this bridge, because you could kind of just keep going. They're all just questions of like, was this what you were actually doing? Because you lied to me so deeply that the only way I can make sense of you hurting me and doing what you did is if you had an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
What do you think she does specifically mean by, did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed? What do you think she means by him having the gun? Like, was it him having a willingness to kill her? Because he kind of did, ultimately, in a way?
Yeah, like I think it's like saying that even when they were like having moments of love together, he had that gun there waiting. Like he was always going to kill her.
Yeah.
All of these lyrics really make a lot of sense as well for Taylor just feeling paranoid about why people want her or why people want to be with her. And I guess like maybe this is her mindset around making sense of how he could kind of love bomb her and then drop away so quickly. Like, you must have wanted something from me. You must have either, you know, you were sent to kill me by someone else, people that want me to not succeed in this industry or in life, or you were getting information to write a book, or, you know, one day all of this will be declassified. I'll know the answers behind why you hurt me, because it literally makes no sense any other way.
Yeah. That's actually such an interesting point, isn't it? Because I haven't really thought about it in that way, but she's actually speaking from her own insecurities here. It's got nothing to do with him, actually. I mean, the reality is that he's probably just a piece of shit. There was no ulterior motive. He just couldn't deal with the commitment with her and left, right?
Yeah.
But yes, these fears that creep in for her because of who she is are naturally going to come up in the face of something like this. And yeah, it's a real insight into how she kind of approaches her life and
Totally.
letting people into it. It's really
There's gonna
fascinating.
be like a secret document about
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, and like maybe even the fact that she was open with him. She says in another lyric, like maybe she'll never open up to someone else. Like she was vulnerable with him, and she feels like that's going to be used against her in some way, and that's a really scary feeling to have.
I mean, that's even interesting with that specific lyric, were you writing a book?
Yeah.
Because we obviously know that he is a writer, and it's not a book, it's a song form, but yes, there is obviously potentially fears around what he might have to say, or not even that she'd feel like she's done anything so bad that like he's going to tell all or some shit, but just the fact that she might have felt used. Like, did you
like
use
for
me for an
another
album kind of
Yeah.
thing? Yeah. But also, is it like a tell a book about my life? Like, are you going to go and tell people like private things that I shared with you in confidence because I trusted you and I trust the people that I keep in like my inner circle? And, you know, everybody's got those things that they don't want the bigger world to know about, and she deserves that privacy like anyone.
It's playing on her personal fears and insecurities, but it is presented in a sarcastic way, I think, as well. Like,
that's true.
It's obvious that he's not a sleeper cell spy. Like, she knows deep down why he is the way he is, but it's still just like a sarcastic way of making sense of the situation.
So true.
And I think that that's why it is quite clever, really.
Yeah.
And also, even like in 50 years, will this all be declassified? It's like usually 50 years that like illegal documents are like hidden for until in the US, and then it's like public knowledge.
Yeah.
And you'll confess why you did it. It's like one day I'll get all of these answers as to why this has happened.
Yeah.
I love this flip. This is really where it all flips in the bridge. Like, and I'll say good riddance, and you're right. That's where that extra vocal comes in, because she's like kind of, it's a cathartic expression. They're like, once I know, I'll just be like, good riddance to all of this.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like she's saying that, like, one day when you finally have the guts to actually tell me why this happened, I won't even give a fuck anymore. I'm like, good riddance. Like, and then I feel like it's interesting because then the narrative switches into her kind of saying these sorts of things where she's just like, fuck you anyway. Because it wasn't sexy once it wasn't forbidden. She's like, you know what? One day when you finally tell me, I'm not going to give a fuck, because guess what? You were shit to sleep with. The idea of you is so much better than actually being with you. Like, which I feel like as well, specifically when it comes to sex and performance in that way and stuff, like that is such a touchy subject, especially for men. I think for anybody, but if someone was to turn around and be like,
it wasn't,
you were so shit compared to what I thought you would be like in that department, like that's gonna hurt, you know?
Yeah, totally.
She's saying something that's going to, she knows would like cut deep for him, which is funny.
He's hurt her.
Yeah, so why not?
No, I love that lyric. It's just such a relatable lyric as well. Like, something, the idea of someone is so much sexier than the reality of it so much. And a lot of the time, that's what leads people on or keeps people going, is the idea of someone. These kind of flings are just the worst for that.
Yeah. It is interesting that she uses the word forbidden, because it is that direct callback to guilty as sin.
Yeah.
The fact that she wanted him when she couldn't. She was actually in another relationship.
Yeah.
So the fact that she brings us back to that is really fascinating. And, you know, I actually do think it speaks volumes of the fact that she's kind of telling us in some way that she only wanted him to move on. She only wanted him to use as that miracle move on drug, not because she actually wanted him.
I think it's a hard one. I think that maybe if he ended up being what she wanted him to be, she might have enjoyed being in that relationship.
For sure, yeah.
But it is interesting how she starts Fortnite with that. I took the miracle move on drug and the effects were temporary. I think that though that's more of a hindsight than an actively knowing that she was just using him to move on. Well, I think she looks back on that and she's like, now I can see that was a miracle move on drug, and of course it didn't work out because it was never going to work out.
But I think that would be the case in any situation like that. Anyone who moves on really quickly, I think if it doesn't work out, it's really easy to look back on it and go, oh, I used you to get away from the last person or to get over the last person.
But I don't think she actively knew that when she was doing it, and I also don't think that she was, I think there was something real for her that she was clinging on to with him.
But I also think that if you moved on with someone that it did end up working out with, it would be harder for you to see that that was actually what your intention was at the beginning, because it did ultimately work out. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's obviously happened to people before, that they've moved on really quickly and then it's happened to be like the love of their life or whatever, and it's worked out all great.
Yes, totally.
But it doesn't change the fact that maybe with time you can see that the reason you went there in the first place was not because they were a great person, it was because you had something to get away from.
She needed it to get out of the relationship with Joe. It was the only way maybe she was gonna leave.
Yeah. What's just really clear with Taylor is that she's a girly who needs a rebound to move on from the last person. I think that if we're being honest with ourselves, Travis also was a rebound from this whole situation, but Travis worked out for her. So she probably doesn't see it in that way.
Yeah.
But it's true. She's constantly doing that.
Ever since Calvin, she seems to have kind of gone from one guy to the next. And I think that that is a very common thing that happens with relationships. And I think also Taylor's in a situation where she meets a lot of people and she's around a lot of new opportunities to meet a lot of people. But I think that there was a part of me that was really looking forward to a single era after the Maddie Healy stuff. And I'm really happy she's with Travis. I think that that's great. But if she ever has a single girl era, I will be there for that as well.
Absolutely. I think it's hard because Travis does seem like such a perfect match for her, and maybe they just did meet at that time and she needed to just go ahead with it. But then at the same time, I'm like, it's kind of concerning that she can't just be alone. I don't know. I just find it a bit like, babe.
Yeah. I think if she was my friend, I would say that to her.
If she was my friend, I'd say that to her. Yeah, for sure.
I would have died for your sins. Instead, I just died inside. Oh my God, that's a great link to Guilty as Sin as well. That whole section.
Yeah, you're right. And it also feels like a direct tie into how much the Swiftie community was giving her so much hate because of her association with him, and how controversial he is as a figure. She was like, I was ready to actually stand by you regardless of what people had to say about me and us.
I think
instead you killed me.
Nicely to Guilty as Sin and But Daddy I Love Him.
Yeah.
Just like her being like, I actually would have stood up for you. And even like I want to build you a fort on some planet where they can all understand it. Like I was always on your side.
Yeah.
And even though you were like a bit of a controversial person, sins maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it actually comes up so much. Even I can fix him. No, really, I can.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many times that she tells us that despite what people had to say, she was there.
That.
Yeah, she was there.
And he killed her instead.
Yeah.
So true.
And you deserve prison, but you won't get time. I find that such an interesting lyric too, even just with the fact that there's so many times that she talks about herself kind of being in a prison, and I know it's not actually technically a connection, but it is funny. And then I guess as well what she's saying is the way in which you hurt me feels like it should be so fucking illegal that you're sent to jail, but you just get away with it. Men like this get away with it. Men who don't care and are just careless with women's feelings, there are no repercussions, unfortunately.
No.
I mean, maybe emotionally for them down the track, they'll wake up one day and realize they're fucking alone and everyone hates them, and that will be a repercussion. But there's no, when you feel so betrayed, so wronged, like she's explaining
against
here.
the law to hurt me this way.
Yeah, she's like, the only thing that would actually make me feel better right now is if I was able to take you to trial.
Yeah.
And
so
you
true.
were being sent away forever.
But you'll keep being slimy. You'll keep getting away with it. And I think that that's this whole metaphor of what this is like the prison, but you'll slide through
You'll slide into inboxes
and it feels like it's escaping
the
the prison.
Yes.
And it's kind of feels like a metaphor for just being this sleazy dirtbag who kind of uses women and just continues to get away with it.
Yeah, totally. Even slip through the bars is such an interesting line specifically because it does feel like slip through the bars of a jail cell, you'll escape, but it's also with the dating thing of sliding into inboxes, it's maybe it's a bar, like a drinking bar, you're exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll just keep doing this to other women instead of actually being held accountable.
Oh my God. A lot of people in the comments about the Black Dog were saying the rain soaked thing was after she had the rain show and she said she did the question speech and Maddie was there because maybe their relationship ended after that. And then they're saying that he went on tour that weekend to Ireland and there's a Black Dog bar there. So she might have literally did the question speech and then being like, do you hate me for saying that?
Oh my God. This man. This
Okay,
man
guys,
and
thank
this
you
woman.
for the fathoming of that.
Help, that's a lot. Never thought about that in my whole life.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck is this lyric? You crashed my party and your rental car.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
was, isn't it?
if he actually crashed a rental car, that's so embarrassing.
That would really track for him, I feel.
Yeah, I think it kind of, I mean, even that coming in the same line as like crashing the party kind of thing. It's like, you're a party guy, you like to be out, you like to, you know, be socializing, drinking maybe, all of these things, the drugs, you know, tried to buy some pills, all of that. It's like, you're a reckless driver, you crashed your rental car under the influence maybe.
For anything, because like, I think like crash my party could
Oh.
mean that maybe he crashed like the Eras tour.
I definitely
And-
think even just like she felt like maybe she was having a great time, you know, maybe she felt like even breaking up with Joe, she was finally free. She needed that. It was the right time. She was excited to go on the Eras tour. Like even like you rusted my sparkling summer.
Yeah.
Like you crashed my party. I was about to have a good time.
Yeah.
I was about to be bejeweled again.
Yeah, and he did
And you
crash
came
the
and
Eras
wrecked it.
tour.
Yes.
He came and was like singing with the opening with Phoebe
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah, Boy Genius.
And then
yeah.
I wonder if like rental car could also be like, I don't know, a metaphor for her or the relationship. Like they were just testing it out and like he crashed it. I don't know. It is an interesting lyric, but
That's interesting,
I
yeah.
also think that this lyric really does remind me of Betty when he shows up at her party.
Yes.
Yeah, because also like even just like with Peter and Cardigan and you know those songs that kind of tie back together. I wonder if anyway there's a link there.
Yeah, that's a very intriguing point. Yes, we will be refathoming folklore over on Patreon.
If I
at
just
some
showed
point
up
soon.
at your party, would you take me back? This line may also be seen as a metaphor portraying their relationship as a rental car, something he saw as temporary and disposable.
Which is really fucked up if he's talking rings and talking cradles. Like if
she was
that's how
just a
he really
rental
saw
car.
it.
He was just testing her out. And then he crashed
No.
it because he
I guess
ruined
this
the
whole song is
relationship.
her saying you said one thing and did another. So he could be making all these promises verbally and then actually, like, in his mind, it isn't as serious as the way that he's making it out to be and the way that she's
Well,
then feeling
I mean,
about it.
If you're a liar and a manipulator, like words don't mean anything to you, promises don't mean anything to you. You're just trying to get what you want, and then once you get it, it doesn't mean anything to him.
Yeah, that's true.
So you crash my party and your rental car. It's like the relationship and the Eras tour, and he's just fucked everything up.
Yeah, that's
Maybe.
really interesting.
You said normal girls were boring, but you were gone by the morning. Oh, I love the rhyme in these lyrics,
Yeah.
but I feel like it just says so much about
Yeah.
this man and his character.
Yeah.
Like, those girls weren't good enough for you, so you kind of would build me up and say you wanted someone like me, which made me feel really seen and like we were similar and like only we could handle each other because we're both crazy, and any other girl would bore you to death. But then you actually just left me as well.
Yeah, and also, like, it actually just speaks to the kind of person that he is. Like, he belittles other women to make her feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that with hindsight, she's probably like, what the fuck? I don't want to be with somebody who puts
Them
women down.
to
Like,
make
that's
me
gross.
feel like I'm special. The thing I think it stems from is that men don't like femininity. So when they're like, oh, you're not like other girls, that feels like we're meant to be really impressed by that. But
Yeah.
actually what they're saying is like,
So true.
I don't like girls.
Yeah.
So you're not like
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's
it's true.
a good thing. That's meant to be a good thing.
Yeah, so true. So true. Because men view female interests as trivial,
Yeah.
as
Boring.
basic.
Yeah.
And if you fit into
Unimportant.
that category, yeah, they're just like, ew, like I want someone who's like cool and she's chill and laid back and, you know, she's into
She's a
sports.
chill girl.
And like, you know, she doesn't like gossiping and she doesn't like getting her hair done and her nails. She doesn't have to wear that much makeup,
And
you
she's
know,
not
she's
feminine.
just comfortable in herself. Ew! I hate men like that.
I know.
You kicked out the stage lights, but you're still performing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that links to that first verse, but obviously him being a performer.
Yep.
Everything's for the show. And maybe it made her feel like he kicked out those stage lights, like it wasn't for show, but he actually was still performing.
Or even just like, you know, like with the spotlight on their relationship, like you kicked out the stage light, like you ended our relationship, you took the focus off of that, but you're still performing because you as a person will not change from this experience, maybe. Like you ghosted me, you did the wrong thing by me, you will inevitably repeat this cycle with other women in the future. And that is a performance. You only know how to tell women lies.
Or maybe even that is a performance, right? Like kicking out the stage lights, like ending their relationship was part of the whole...
Yeah, like you actually maybe you probably still have feelings for me. You were just so scared of committing to me that you've run away even though I am actually your dream girl.
Oh my God, that changes that whole lyric for me.
Yeah, there's a few different ways you can take that lyric, which is a really fascinating.
Maddie Healy metaphorically kicked out the stage lights, breaking them and turning out the lights on their relationship. This also could be a metaphor for the attention she gave him, the same way the stage lights focus on a performer to support and enhance their performance. Healy kicking out the stage lights means he rejected that attention and support. Being with Swift also put Healy in a brighter spotlight with the media and the public, and he kicked out that light by ending their relationship.
That was actually interesting there. It's like he couldn't deal with the scrutiny, like the backlash from Swifties. So he kicked out the stage light. That's what he couldn't handle. I haven't thought about that, but
And Swift is accusing him of still being fake and performing even after their relationship is over. That was lost on me. And that makes a lot of sense. He just continues to do this show. He's never going to be real or have a real relationship because it's always a performance.
Well, I think if you had the capacity to not perform and to be real, then you would measure up in every measure of a man, right?
Well, you wouldn't be the smallest man. You're going to continue to be the smallest man and never have anything real in your life.
Wow.
She
just says simply so much in this bridge. You know what's so fascinating is that then the next bit is an outro. And that's fascinating because I guess in a way, like obviously it all just flows into one, but it is interesting that it's actually where they considered this outro and in plain sight you hid. That's when the musical calms down, and the production changes. And that's when she stops doing that double vocal of the high pitch and low pitch. Because the last one is, you're still performing. And in plain sight you hid. So true. There is an obvious shift into it being the end of the song. So I can actually see how this is an outro and not technically part of the bridge, even though it does feel like all day.
No. In plain sight you hid, but you are what you did.
In plain sight you hid is such an interesting lyric too, because I guess in a way it's kind of like him having his own level of fame, being a public figure, him going on his own tour, like not long after having just been at the Eras tour and doing stuff as well. It's like, I know where you are. Like, I know who you're with. I know what you're doing. I can very easily find information on what's going on for you right now. So you're hiding in plain sight because you are not contacting me. I have no way of getting in contact with you because I'm asking somebody else to send this message to you. You ghosted me. Like, we don't have a direct line of communication.
But I know what you're doing. I wonder if that also links like being able to see his location.
Yes.
Maybe.
True.
I don't know.
True. In like the Black Dog and stuff.
This could be a lot longer later though.
Yeah.
So.
But I guess just like the hiding being like, you're hiding from that direct communication with me. Giving us an opportunity to actually talk through things. But you are in plain sight because I know where you are.
And you are what you did is such a good lyric too. It's like you can't actually escape or run away or hide from the fact that you are this person. You are the smallest man that ever lived.
Yes.
So even though you're hiding from me, who I am someone who shows you that because of my vulnerability and my ability to connect, you're hiding from that, but you will live with this.
Yeah, it's actually a perfect line to put right at the end of this song, because the whole song is her spelling out the lies that he told and the versions of him that she thought were the real him that turned out to not be the case. This whole experience has shown her his true colors. So of course you are what you did. Like, this is really the kind of guy that you are. The kind of guy that could ghost a girl after promising her forever.
You know what's interesting is Genius is connecting it to Innocent, which I've never fathomed.
That is interesting because in Innocent she does say, you're not what you did.
You're not what you did. You're still an innocent. And here she's saying you are what you did. Oh my God, she's learning her lesson. She's not giving men the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And it's so interesting with Innocent too, because obviously she was so young. That was her first experience of something like that.
Yes.
It would have been
She's
so
like,
difficult
"No,
for her
it's
to
okay."
grasp
Yeah.
that there are actually just shit people right?
out there.
And she had to learn that lesson with Kanye himself, because obviously after Innocent came out, they ended up rekindling their friendship to some extent. And then everything went down with the phone call and everything. She had to learn through repeating the same mistake. Well, not even the same mistake, because she didn't really know him when he got up on stage and everything. But like, she forgave him, moved on, allowed him access to her, and then realized he was still a shitty person.
She's done with that. She's like, I'm just labeling these men what they are. The smallest man.
Yeah.
Whoever lives.
It's a hard lesson to learn, that when somebody shows you who they are, you have to believe that that's who they are, and not just a one, occurrence of some shitty thing that you did once.
I love the way she wrapped this up. It's actually so offensive, because even just like, I'll forget you, but I'll never forgive. Like, that's also that lesson that she's learned. Like, I'm gonna let this go, but I don't have to forgive you to let it go. And that's something that she said after an interview once as well, about like the whole like re-records, I think. Even.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I don't have to forgive to let go and move on. Like, that's not something that you have to do.
Even linking it back to the Kanye thing, it reminds me of "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things" when she says, "Is forgiveness is a nice thing to do," and then she laughs, because she's learned that you don't need to give somebody forgiveness. I don't need to give Kanye forgiveness, and I'm not giving the smallest man who ever lived any forgiveness.
I like that though, because she's also saying like, I forget you. Like, I'm not going to...
You're actually irrelevant.
I'm not going to like stay hung up on this forever. Like, I'm going to move through this.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is the last time she says the smallest man that ever lived, but she's actually just calling him this now. Like, I actually will not forgive the smallest man who ever lived, instead of like, can you send a message to?
Yeah, true.
There we go.
It's just such a good song. I'm really, really grateful that... I'm not grateful that Taylor had to go through and experience this painful to write a song like this, but I do think that it was a song that was missing from her discography. This kind of vibe of just being so angry and so betrayed and so hurt that you don't even give a fuck. You can see your own worth through it.
Yeah, I think it's so important that we have this in her discography at this point, because she's had to deal with so many shitty men over the years.
Yeah.
So having a song that's called The Smallest Man is just...
Yeah.
This is just one of her most brutal songs that she's ever written.
Yeah.
Like, it cuts so deep.
Yeah.
And it's just so scathing.
It
and
is.
so like... no fucks given. I love it when that she's gotten to this point. And I think that she just continues to get more and more raw and honest with her songwriting. So it makes sense that we've finally gotten this version of this song, this kind of song here. And I also just don't know if anyone has ever deserved it quite as much as Maddie Healy.
No, I agree. I think that there are so many parts of this song that you could absolutely apply to the Scooter Brauns and the Scott Shedders of the world.
I agree.
But I think that the fact that there was this very personal element to it where she was in love with this person, I think makes it feel even worse in that way sometimes. And so it makes sense that this was the situation that made her write a song like this. It's a lot of stuff.
Guys, let us know how you feel about this song down below.
Yes, please.
And yeah, we're getting to the end, guys. We're getting to the end of the Torture Poet breakdowns. We've really been powering through. Hope you guys have been enjoying these breakdowns and that you're getting as much out of them as we have been. Really just fathoming.
Oh, especially the last
album.
few weeks, we have really been fathoming
We really
some
have.
things,
We
which
really
has
have.
been deeply helpful.
We have saved some of our favorites
Yes, we have.
to the end.
We have to say we couldn't leave all of our least favorites to the end.
No,
could we?
no,
We needed to save some good ones. So
We got
guys,
some
you've got
of them
some
coming
good
up.
shit to be looking forward to.
See you guys then. Love you. Thanks for watching.
Bye.